Well, hi, I'm Trent Redmond.
And Melinda Redmond.
We are excited to launch something that we've been talking about for a while, and it's because we love people, we love church, we love Jesus, and we really want to help people to think of some new ways of experiencing church. So this very first podcast is all about a little bit of our story. Not all about our story, because that would take too much time, but we do want to let you know who we are and why we are excited to talk about this subject. I've been a pastor my entire life, 25 years plus as a lead pastor or on staff at a local church, and have experienced church, whether it's been church planting or whether it's been campus pastor at a mega church. I've experienced broad spectrums of what God is doing in the American church. And so many of my friends who are pastors, man, I love what they are doing. I love the mission that they are on, and they're doing some amazing things. And our lives, we had an opportunity to see church done a different way when we were leading a missions trip in Thailand, which really got us curious. Is there a way for us to do something in America that would be attractive to those who, for some reason, are not attracted to the regular style of church here in the U.S.? So we think that what we're going to talk about over the next number of podcasts impacts both people who live in a Western mindset as well as globally. And so we want to be a resource for people across the world. Melinda, maybe just share a little bit about who we are as a family, as a background, and then we'll dive into some more details.
Yeah, we have 5 kids, and we live in the Midwest. And when I married Trent, he'd already been youth pastoring for about 5 years full-time and even part-time before that. And then we were associate pastors at a church plant and decided we were never going to plant a church. And then after that, we planted a church for about 15 years. And at the end of that time, we knew God was calling us to do ministry in a different way. We didn't know what that would look like or what was happening, but we ended up leading a missions trip to Thailand and experienced a home church there. And in the middle of that, we looked at each other, we knew this was what God was calling us to do. And at first, we thought it was going to be overseas. We thought that's what that meant because we hadn't seen it done in a healthy way here in America. But we knew that it happened all around the world, globally. And so after praying about it, we just didn't have peace. We still felt called to our same community. And we decided just to take some time to pray about it. And we talked with some people, and we just had some awesome God moments where we knew and we thought, wow, what would this look like in America? Can this work? What would it look like? What would need to happen? And so we just want to share some of our process with you because we've had so many people. God is just doing something new to reach out to people who are not going to the traditional American church. Yeah. We are for the traditional American church, but we are so also for reaching people who aren't going to any kind of church. And so we just want to share kind of some of those ideas and encouragement for you if you're looking for ways to connect and to disciple people, to connect with your neighbors, to connect with those who have questions about God and spirituality, but aren't interested in connecting in a traditional manner.
Yeah. One verse, and of course I can't remember the reference off the top of my head, but Paul was saying that he wanted to share the gospel, but he wanted to share his own life as well. So this is kind of a glimpse into our lives. And granted, we're on camera, but we're trying to imagine that you're just sitting across a coffee table from us. And we just want to share some of the things that we've learned. We've been so privileged to have an opportunity to talk to people who are doing this new way of doing church, which I would say is really, it's an ancient way of doing church. But we've experienced so much incredible knowledge as we talk to people who are just simple people who love Jesus, who don't have master's degrees, don't have doctorates, and yet they are leading networks. Some of them, they're still doing a full-time job on the side, but they're leading networks of 12,000 microchurches. Yep. And it's just mind-blowing to hear what they are doing and the persecution that they face as they do this. In America, we have so much freedom, so much ability to meet in our homes. I know there's some stories of homeowner associations that don't allow a certain number of cars, and we feel like we're being, we can't have enough people in our home or things like that. But compared to what's going on globally, we are so fortunate to be able to do church in some really unique, fun ways. And so we want to share some of those ways with you. So my background with larger church, we've been in situations where we love big worship experiences. We love having a great band. We love having all the things that come along with a great life-giving worship experience. But for me, something that really spoke deeply to my heart was when I was in Thailand leading this missions trip, we had this very simple experience of church. And it was in a home, and it was just, 12 of us in the room, and the music wasn't that great. It was a guitar, and but the experience that we had as we encountered the Bible together was better than anything that I had ever experienced in a large corporate gathering with thousands of people. There was an intimacy, there was a reality of God's presence that was there in such a profound way that I realized I didn't need to hire all the right musicians. I didn't need to have all the right things in place to experience the presence of God like we did in this simple setting. And when we came back, that was our catalyst of thinking, is there a way that we could do ministry just like they're doing overseas and realize that the presence of God is so alive and so real? And we want people to know that we can have that without all of the extra steps that we were involved in doing for so many years. All those great steps are wonderful. They can be great experiences, but it's not required. Church can be incredibly simple and still usher in the same experience of the presence of God that changes people's lives in an amazing way.
Yeah, one of the statistics we heard when we came back, we heard John Maxwell, and that same week we heard someone else quote the same statistic, that 52% of Americans will not go to a traditional American church no matter what. They will not go in the doors. Doesn't matter how many times you invite them or what event you're putting on, they will not go for various reasons. Yep. So all the churches in America are trying to connect with the same 48% of people. And what are we doing? If there was a large business corporation that in America was only connecting with 48% of the population, they would change their strategy. They would try to figure out what to do. How do they reach and connect and build relationship and rapport with this huge mass of the population? And the church isn't doing anything on a grand scale to connect with these people. And so what are we doing to further the Great Commission? Yeah. And so we just feel like, okay, there's another avenue. There's maybe many avenues and things to do, but this is just one way we feel God telling us to reach out and connect with people. I would dare say almost every neighborhood in America, not maybe every, but almost every neighborhood in America probably has one Christian family who loves Jesus and is serving him with all their heart, mind, and soul. And if there was one family in every neighborhood who was strategically, intentionally praying for their neighbors, trying to connect with their neighbors, and just their sphere of influence, even with work or their kids' sports or whatever, if they were really intentionally trying to connect with their neighbors, to have spiritual conversations, what would happen? Would there be revival in our nation? It's very, very possible. But right now, the culture is that we bring our friends to church, which is fabulous. Don't stop doing that. I agree with that. But we kind of have let the pastor have the job of connecting with people and having that spiritual conversation. But the pastor, and we know this as being full-time ministry pastors for years, we don't have the same relationship that you have with them. And so it's just a little bit different mindset of figuring out how you can connect with your neighbors, and you can have these spiritual conversations that maybe for whatever reason you feel like you aren't able to do, for various reasons, that you don't feel like you know the Bible enough or you don't have all the answers. That's kind of beside the point. And so we just want to encourage you to figure out how to love your neighbors and connect with them on a spiritual or deeper level, just a relationship level, and show them the love of Jesus.
Yeah. That 52% statistic came from John Maxwell, who was speaking to a bunch of leaders, and he said, in most leadership settings, he said people would jump at a chance to jump into a new market and think of new ways of doing things, but we're kind of stuck in our ways. So we want to help introduce you to some new ways of doing things, and ways that can involve people who you don't have to have a pastoral degree to do the kind of disciple making and micro church strategy that we're talking about. But we can help guide you in some of the principles that we've learned and help you unpack what that looks like. Another person that shared statistics was Alan Hirsch. He talks about how his statistics are even less than what John Maxwell shared. I believe he said 40% of people in America would ever even consider going to church the way that we go to church. And he said 90% of churches are all going after the same 40%. So here we are with a ton of people who would be interested in learning about the Bible, interested in learning about Jesus, but for whatever reason, they have been not interested in our current style of church. And what's fun is we get to unpack a little bit of the style of church versus what does the Bible say about church? The current style of church is great, but if you would read through the New Testament and think about what was the New Testament church like, you'd realize, okay, the New Testament church had some issues because a lot of the letters in the New Testament are written to problems in churches. But we'd also realize that they didn't look like our churches today. And that's not a bad thing, but it's not a good thing either. So we get to go and look again with a fresh perspective of what does church look like in its most simple way. And so on this website and on this Facebook page, we are wanting to help people to pass on the message of who Jesus is. Because some of you, this idea of microchurch is a little too scary, and you're thinking, I just want to impact people and help them discover what I found in Jesus. We want to help you with that. Others of you are thinking, I want to help people who are not going to go to a local church experience the fellowship, experience the genuineness of who God is in a simple church. So both of those different ways of helping people to become followers of Jesus, we hope to approach during our conversations. So either direction, we want to help you.
Yeah, we have connected with some networks. People often ask us, is there anything else happening in the U.S.? What's going on? We've connected with a few networks that are happening in certain strategic areas throughout the U.S. We know of some movements that are happening, and we want to connect and have some of those leaders and participants on here. And there's different ways and different styles of doing microchurch, and we're going to kind of explore those. We're going to share what we learned, but there's different ways to do it. And so in your region, it might look different for you, but we want to share some resources and some connections of people who are doing some amazing things and just inspire you to consider reaching out and connecting and discipling people where you live. So
yeah. With the style of church that we're talking about, you do not have to be an expert communicator. You do not have to be an expert musician. If you want those things or you have those qualities, that's amazing, and you can use those as well, but it doesn't require it. The people who we've met who are seeing thousands and thousands of people come to Christ overseas are regular people, just like you, just like me, who are seeing phenomenal things happen because they believe in prayer, they believe in the power of what God can do when we give the simple things that are in our hands to the Lord. But one thing that this does require, if you want to make an impact in the world for Jesus, you got to be nice. You got to be friendly. And you got to connect with people. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that we want to help guide you through in this journey and give you some real practical tools. But I know we wanted to do about 15 minutes for this first one, and we are at 15 minutes. Any last minute thing to help people?
Yeah, I thought we should share why we call it microchurch at this first episode. A lot of people say, what is that? What are you talking about? What does that mean? They don't get it. It's too hard to explain. There's a few different names for kind of this movement that we've come across. It's house church, home church, simple church. We choose to use the word microchurch for a few different reasons. One of those is that it doesn't need to meet in a house. And so it's one of the limiting factors of calling it a house church is we have friends who've met in the realty office, like the clubhouse room of, or not clubhouse, but the meeting room of an office building, or the clubhouse of your apartment building or your townhome association. Or we had some friends who met in a boxing gym. We've had people who met in a public park during COVID. All other places, nursing homes.
When it's warm. We're in Minnesota.
We're in Minnesota, so it cannot be only outside part of the year. We know some people who meet in nursing homes, some people who meet in homeless communities and encampments, and they just have a corner of the street that they regularly meet on. Yeah. You can meet anywhere. So calling it house church or home church could limit it in that factor. The other factor is here in America, if you're listening to this somewhere else, maybe this isn't the case, but here in America, house church or home church often has a little bit of a negative connotation because in the past, two things have happened. People who have been disgruntled for whatever reason from traditional church have left and started their own little holy huddle, if you will. And so people think, oh, you don't like church if you have your own little separate meeting. We're not good enough for you. They're feeling rejected or secluded or there's some other reason. And that is not the case. And what goes with that is that they don't reach out, they don't connect, they don't use it as an opportunity to have spiritual conversations with friends and neighbors and invite people in their home. They kind of keep with their same little, it kind of becomes a clique where they don't reach out. They just stay in their own little bubble. And that is not the intention. So we are trying to get away from that connotation that some people have. Not everybody has that, but some people in the church have that idea. And that is not the intention. That is not what a microchurch is about. Our microchurch is about reaching out and connecting with those who have yet to hear the good news about Jesus.
Yeah. Back in the day, I used to think the biggest vision I could think of for church was to have a church with 10 locations with 1,000 people each. I thought that would be amazing. My mindset has radically shifted where I thought the most effective way to see multiplication truly happen is to flip that idea on its head and think, what if we could be a part of a movement of 1,000 micro churches with 10 people each, and to see those multiply every year or two as they continue to expand and impact their neighborhoods. So Melinda and I, we have a mega vision for the micro church. We are not thinking small. We're thinking small, but we're thinking big because we're thinking the power of truly what God can do as people come together and realize that with their simple gifts, they can make an impact for the kingdom of God. So we hope you join us on this journey, and we are excited to share some of the things that we've learned on our journey.
Yeah, and feel free, connect with us, join us at Now Pass It On. We have a Facebook group that we can continue the conversation there, and we have a website where we'll be posting the links to these podcasts as well. So follow along. We'd love to have you join us.
See you next time.